Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Pretty cool Call of Duty game. When I first went on my Call of Duty binge, actually a part of what made me even want to start playing Call of Duty in the first place was because I saw like a big part of what inspired me to even like kind of take on content creation stuff. I saw him do a stream of it. It was a pre-recorded YouTube stream, and it was during a time where it was kind of a low time, and I kind of had that time to like go through streams and stuff, and I didn't even watch any actual streams at this time. Anyway, one of them I saw was Infinite Warfare, and it really kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I was like, hey, you know what? Because I always knew, like, okay, Call of Duty had campaigns and zombies, multiplayer, whatever. But, it wasn't until I really had my own perspective on it and saw that, like, it wasn't even, like, a long stream either, but it was enough, and it was cut up in parts, and they were only, like, 2 or 3 hours long each, but, like, during that time, I was like, whoa, there's a Call of Duty that has a campaign, it's about space, and it actually looked pretty damn good. I was, like, shocked. Because I don't think I would have really watched any or seen anything, because I don't go out of my way to see any Call of Duty stuff exactly. You know, like nothing specific, but like, yeah, I was surprised. I was like, this looks really good. And I was right. When I actually started playing, I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. It's space. It reminds me of Mass Effect in a way. And I never played Mass Effect either, but it's a good watch. I had a good time watching this, and that really stood out to me because I was like, hey, it's cinematic, it's familiar. It wasn't too like, it was a very this could have been a movie. It was a very believable thing, and it wasn't just a standard, normal, basic kind of military movie or something that you would see. So I was like completely blown away at just how like this was delivered and done and the direction it took. It's like, dude, it was very big, it was very expansive, it looked very interesting. I mean, it's their one and biggest. I mean, you'll see some games that cover space here and there, like the Call of Duty games. Like, they'll have some space sections, or like, it'll have to do with the story, but other than that, you won't really see much of it. This was all space. This was all like, it was just really cool. Obviously, it was still a very grounded and very pretty, like, it wasn't too much. It wasn't like space fantasy or something. But it was like, hey, this is what things would be like if we colonized space, and then, you know, traveling and advanced technology, ships, all kinds of stuff. But, Yeah, who knew, right? Because, like, even Advanced Warfare, they kind of touch on this stuff a little bit. You'll even see spots of space stuff, like, in Ghosts, I think. Like, space, satellites, we're thinking, you know, like, space is only so far away. We do still interact with it. But this was, like, full on, like, dude, this is my thing. I love space games. Destiny, Halo. I think StarCraft has always been cool. I never played that. It's just a lot of space games that I've seen. Star Wars, dude. They've never really disappointed me. They've always kind of like delivered, and they have to, because this isn't just some earthbound thing. This is like the universe we're talking about. This is like beyond our limitations, and the stars and the galaxy and dreams and wonder and enlightenment and all these like big things. So yeah, it was interesting to see Call of Duty in this environment taking on the whole space thing, and I think it worked out great. It's very Star Warsy. Like, there was just a lot to connect to. There was a lot to like, hey, this is cool, or I've seen something similar elsewhere, and it kind of connects me a little bit more to Call of Duty because of this game. So there was just a lot to like consider here, and I mean, sure, like, if you're biased towards space, you're obviously gonna probably like this a lot more than the other Call of Duty games. Or, yes, you'll be in the exact opposite seat where, because I know this isn't the most popular Call of Duty because of how different it is. But, like, the people who like Modern Warfare, blah blah blah, they're the ones that probably aren't really gonna like this game. Unfortunately. But for me, it was kind of a win-win, because I was like, well, I'm kind of ready to give this franchise a shot, give it a go. I needed a little push for it. Yeah, I mean, there's robots, dude. There's too much cool shit here to like just ignore. It's kind of hard to pass up like half the things they offer in here. So yeah, this to me, I mean, the only other thing that's somewhat themed similarly is Advanced Warfare. I like this way more than Advanced. Advanced is just not enough. That's why it was hard on Advanced, because like that's exactly the problem. They were trying to do kind of a little bit of both. There's Earth and then there's space, and they were trying to do something like here, which didn't just really make a lot of sense to me. So, and at least here, like, they stuck in space. They stuck to it. Especially after playing Destiny for 5 years and growing up on Halo, kind of, and even just those two examples alone, I can't think of a lot of space games, to be honest, on the top of my head, but they're out there. Space movies. I mean, I'd say Star Wars games, but I don't know if I really count that. I think it's kind of in its own, those are like in their own separate thing. But there's a part of me that's always kind of been wanting to focus on just space games, because I think if that was going to be my niche, or like my specialty, I definitely wouldn't mind it at all, because I just think that's so cool, like, to have that theme and to really stand by it, and you kind of know what you want, and you think big, and you dream big, and that's kind of the real message behind any space thing. The final frontier, man. Star Trek. I don't know, like, I've also watched a lot of Gundam, which takes place in space. Like, I've had so much influence on space stuff for so long that I was like, Call of Duty in space. Who knew? That could actually work. But yeah, I obviously have a lot more good things to say about this game than probably most of the other ones. Granted, this isn't what Call of Duty does at its best, but because you're taking something that I'm not particularly fond of with something I really do like, I think that's a very interesting combination, and I'm not complaining at all. Yeah, the cutscenes are cool.
Get him up, he needs air. Catch your breath, trooper.
Captain Koch, gun destroyed, data retrieved, initiating Raya.
Yeah, other than just like the simple fact that it's space themed, there was a really... I liked the chemistry between the main guy and the captain. I liked his partner. It was all very cliche, but it was considering kind of how I process the game in my own way. I was all for it. But yeah, I like the celebrities that they chose for this game, or the face models, I guess would be more accurate. I thought the gunplay was good, it felt solid. The traversing, the mobility wasn't really that bad. I think there was wall running in this one, which I don't really care for, but... yeah, there's spaceships, dude, like, it's... I mean, if you really want to think about it, there's things that look like Star Destroyers, too. It's just... It's really cool. I don't know, like... It was very down to earth, but it was obviously... It obviously took place in space, right? I mean, shit, even in like the first hour of the game, it's really cool. It's really familiar. It's what I'm used to. I think it really represented its generation very well. There's not a lot to complain about this game. I honestly can't really think of one, which is weird because in a lot of these games, it's very easy to find something. Because I think it's important to kind of... I don't really like the phrasing constructive criticism, but it's more like... I don't know. Is there another phrasing for that? I mean, that is kind of the best way to describe... It's unconditional love. It is support regardless. I don't know. But yeah, it really, I just had a good time. Even getting a refresher lately, I still can't really think of something that really turned me off. Like, it lasted long. I think it was very epic. I'm not too picky about story stuff, so like I'm not really complaining there, like how it was written, I guess, or whatever. Like overall, just from a very projected view, it was great. Did I know what was happening half the time? Did I really care? No. But the point is to like, I think the overall presentation is what kind of stands out to me and what I take note of and can appreciate. And yeah, the graphics look great. I like the armor. It's very Destiny-esque. And with how much time I've spent with games like that, I look at this and I'm like, because I didn't play this till way after my whole Destiny thing. I was like, dude, this is Destiny and Call of Duty, literally. This is as close as you're gonna get. Which is interesting too, because they obviously were... They were both Activision games at some point. They do have very similar play styles and gunplay and mechanics and but they're so different too. I'm such a duality kind of person that, I mean, even aside from the overall thing that this game does, I got to look at it from like a deep point of view, from like a less deep point of view. I just had a really good time playing this. I do remember this being one of the few firsts. It's all kind of like, I'd really have to kind of go back and find out what I did play. Not like it matters, but this is kind of what did launch this whole like Call of Duty thing to me. I don't remember if this is like what I got my hands on first per se, but it was definitely my most anticipated, is probably the best way to put it. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it was like, it was kind of weird. I almost didn't want it to end because I got kind of used to it. I was like really immersed in, I mean, sure, just like any game, there was a part of me that did want it to just be over, yeah, but like, at the same time, I was like, hey, if this is like my one excuse to get away from what I'm used to, get out of my comfort zone, try something different, I better make use of it now, because as soon as this is done, that's it. Like, I'm not gonna magically find another reason to replay it, or... There's nothing like the first time you play something, a first playthrough, a first experience. And I hold those very dear to me. I treasure those memories and those times. When I was playing this, I remember a lot of it. I remember being very content and very relaxed and kind of chilled, and I wasn't like stressing out or like pissed off or whatever. I was just kind of playing a game. And I normally only get that feeling with like most other stuff too. So it was a very different feeling to me. I mean, dude, I can make a list. You name it. Modern Warfare 1, 2, the OG remaster, the remake for that matter, of 1. Black Ops 3, Black Ops Cold War, Advanced Warfare, Ghosts, Vanguard, World War II, hell, mobile. Like, those are the games that I've played. That's most of them. I think that's all of them, to be honest, but out of that whole list, dude, I like this way more. That's why it did so well for me too, is because of space and stuff. Like, you're thinking bigger than like, oh, we're on the ground and we're on Earth and our little human problems and this and that, blah blah blah. It's almost like this game was made in space. It was made in the future. It was so weird. Like, it was kind of, I think, ahead of its time. Literally. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a perfect game, but for a Call of Duty game, it is, to me, it was damn good. Which, basically every title I just mentioned, the fans of those games, any one of those for that matter, they're gonna disagree with me in a heartbeat, which is perfectly fine. You know, y'all got your Modern Warfare crap, and I got my Infinity Warfare. I'm happy. Infinite Warfare. You know, everyone gets something out of it, and that's the beauty of like having choices and options, is that we all have... Because life is so messy that like our path and directions can take so many different turns along the way that it doesn't take much for someone just like me to be more into something like Infinite Warfare, and it doesn't take much for Homeboy to be into whatever. And as much as we kind of express differentiation amongst each other and console wars, and it's silly. It really is. Like, I think it's fun to debate. I think it's constructive to debate about stuff, but it's definitely not. You know, you got to be a little lighthearted with stuff like that, not take it too seriously. And cause shit, if I was gonna like really push any Call of Duty further, and I mean, hell, if we get a sequel or something, I would not be opposed to this at all. Infinite Warfare 2, dude, let's go. Am I sitting here like really wanting one? No, I'm pretty happy with what we got, but I'm not against it either. Like, more of this. Yeah, the gameplay is good.
Sentries on the roof. Wolf, take one, we got the others.
I see you.
Got 3 more coming up. Push up.
Yeah, obviously the gunplay is still good. I mean, it is still very much Call of Duty and all of its, you know, goodness. But somehow they found a way to, and I can't imagine that's easy too, because what are they so used to doing is kind of this more traditional war stuff. So this, I assume this was very different for them to do as well, because obviously they don't dive into the whole space future stuff that much. So you also got to give the studios some credit too, being able to even make something so out of their way and so different, because some studios can be very, they will do the same thing over and over and over and nothing changes, and it's kind of upsetting. I think that kind of mentality is a little too, it's you get stuck, and I don't think with evolution and stuff that's ever like a good thing to do, because if that's how the world works, I think we'd be in a very different place right now. Which could be good or bad, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive because there's a lot to consider here. This isn't just kind of the same old formula and the research they'd have to do to make the game. And you know, like when you're in space and you're thinking gravity and physics and like, what do things look like? If we were in the future, we have to design all this stuff, original designs for the most part. What's been done before? How can we interpret it in our own way? And it's pretty cool. You know, they didn't lean too much into Halo / Destiny, but they didn't really stick with the whole Advanced Warfare, you know, whatever it is that you can think of that only takes place so long from now, where it's not too much. We're not talking like aliens and like crazy shit. Because as much as I like that fantasy stuff, sometimes I do need to have a little bit more of a real thing going on too. Sometimes you just crave that and want that because we like what we know. We enjoy what we understand. And that's why so many people are geared towards the more traditional stuff too, which is a shame because it's like, dude, I get it. Like, I'm a human being just like you, but at the same time, I think you got to give this game a little bit more of a chance here, because I think there's still a lot of good things to offer here. It's just a good game. You don't even have to look at it so much as like the space stuff. You know, just being, because I've spoken amongst communities before, with each of these games live in real time, playing this game, and they're very, I think unfortunately the people that don't play this or don't stream it or don't make videos on it or whatever it may be, they're the odd ones out. They're the ones that clearly don't like this game and will not support it, won't even go there. Maybe they played it for like a day. Maybe they played the campaign and beat it. Maybe they touched the multiplayer. But that's about as far as I think a lot of people will go. Multiplayer is good. I enjoyed the campaign. I enjoyed the gunplay, the single player PvE, the multiplayer PvP. Although I will say here, like, I didn't hate the multiplayer, but I definitely didn't prefer it, I think, over other multiplayer modes, and that's where it gets a little complicated. I guess if there was one thing to point out that is somewhat negative, I wouldn't even count it. It's just the fact that I don't like the multiplayer as much. It's not bad though. I mean, a lot of the good things of the game still do, they still carry over anyway, but like, I think there are unfortunately other PvP modes that in other games that are better. That's fine. If that's their main thing, obviously it's not hard for some other games to do it better. I think that's fair. But with the campaign, with the theme, I don't know. That makes it pretty tough. Because in the multiplayer, where do you first experience wearing that armor, using these guns in the campaign? So that is a big part of it. I think a lot of multiplayer people do forget that. Like, don't forget where you came from, man. Like, the campaign is training, it's an entry point, it's a way to get into the game, get familiar, learn. You know, you don't just have to jump straight into the multiplayer, which I don't think is very common for people to do, but I'm sure there's some out there that do that, but... Which is crazy, because it's like, dude, the campaign is really good. I know that it's a video game, like let's say for example you enjoy space movies more, that's fine. But if you enjoy space movies, yes, this is a video game, but why wouldn't you enjoy space in this video game as well? Like, do you just not want space in your Call of Duty games? Like, I don't know. It's not a super well-known thing that I think people don't like this because of the space thing, but it's definitely a thing. And thankfully for those who kind of like all games and like all music and are very open to interpretation and open-minded, and you know, those are the ones that are gonna like this game, and that's pretty cool. It's just small things like that that can make us friends. Like the fact that we're playing this game that's not just underrated or the underdog or underestimated or whatever. The simple fact that we can kind of like connect in that way, the fact that we like this game particularly, that's a pretty special thing, because it's not even, oh, we like Call of Duty, we like space. No, we like Call of Duty in space. That's a very specific, unique thing that you'll never really hear that often. It's a special case where this ain't your typical kind of thing. And I think that alone is enticing enough on its own where, like, if that doesn't incentivize you to play this, I don't know what will. It'd just be a shame. There's so many Call of Duties, I could see people skipping this one. And granted, if you're a fan, you're gonna play all of them regardless, but like, you know, they get the other games, they're so used to those, which is understandable, sure, but like, I don't know, I just don't want people to miss out on a nice, good, clean, fun experience. But hey, I got to enjoy it, I liked it, so I guess that's all you can do at the end of the day. That's perfectly okay. Yeah, Call of Duty, Infinite Warfare,